Assalamu alaikum, let's explore this Islamic topic together. Hey, so you know how we always talk about how history often leaves out so many voices? Well, hidden histories, female scholars and mystics of the Abbasid Golden Age, is a perfect example of why that's such a problem, and how important it is to dig deeper. It's a truly fascinating look at a period most people only associate with, like grand caliphs and impressive mosques. The Abbasid Golden Age, roughly from the 8th to the 13th centuries, was this incredible flowering of Islamic culture. Think Baghdad, a bustling metropolis, a center of learning unlike anything the world had seen before. You had incredible advancements in science, medicine, philosophy, everything really. But the story we usually hear is mainly on the male figures. The great scientists, the poets, the thinkers. It's like only getting half the story. You know, this book, though, shines a light on the other half, the women. And it's not just about some random women, these were serious players. We're talking about female scholars who were leading thinkers in their fields, writing influential works on medicine, astronomy, mathematics, you name it. And the mystics, wow, they were spiritual leaders, poets, and commentators on the Quran, deeply involved in the religious and intellectual life of their time. Imagine a world where women were not just confined to the domestic sphere. In the Abbasid era, there was a vibrant intellectual life that actively included women. This wasn't a complete equality by today's standards, of course, but it was far more open than many other societies at that time. And significantly more open than the image many people have of the Islamic world as a whole. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that it was a monolith, but it wasn't. Different regions, different times, different levels of inclusivity. This period saw the rise of madrasas. These amazing schools and centers of learning. And guess what? Women were students and teachers in many of them. They studied alongside men, debated theological points, and contributed to the overall intellectual ferment. The book brings to life incredible stories of women who broke barriers and challenged expectations, all the while navigating a complex and sometimes challenging society. One thing that really stood out to me was the role of women in transmitting and interpreting religious knowledge. We often think of religious scholarship as a male-dominated field, but during the Abbasid Golden Age, women were actively involved in the study and interpretation of the Quran, Hadith, the sayings and traditions of the Prophet Muhammad, and Islamic jurisprudence. Some of them became renowned teachers, guiding others in their spiritual journeys. They were writing commentaries, producing insightful theological analyses, a level of involvement often ignored. And their contributions weren't just confined to religious studies. Some of these women excelled in medicine, becoming skilled physicians and healers. They wrote medical treatises, worked in hospitals, and even became personal physicians to powerful figures. Think about the obstacles they had to overcome just to achieve that level of expertise and recognition. It's incredible. The book also delves into the world of Sufi mysticism. Sufism is this branch of Islam that emphasizes a deep, personal connection with God through spiritual practices like meditation and prayer. Women played a significant role in Sufi circles, often acting as teachers, spiritual guides, and even leaders of Sufi orders. They were creating expressing their mystical experiences, and influencing the development of Sufi thought. Their poem is particularly powerful, often very moving and deeply spiritual, full of imagery and metaphor. It reflects both their personal journey and the larger spiritual currents of their time. It's important to remember the Though it wasn't a utopia. While the Abbasid Golden Age was a period of remarkable openness and intellectual freedom, women still faced societal constraints. Their lives were shaped by the norms and expectations of their time. But the remarkable thing is that within those constraints, they managed to achieve extraordinary things. The book doesn't shy away from these complexities. It presents a nuanced picture of their lives, acknowledging both their achievements and the limitations they faced. Reading about these women, you really start to appreciate the richness and diversity of Islamic history. It's a reminder that the narrative we often hear is only a fragment of the whole story. Hidden Histories helps us to recover these lost voices, bringing to light the significant contributions of women to Islamic intellectual and spiritual life. It's not just about filling in the gaps. It's about changing our understanding of the past and challenging our preconceived notions. It's about recognizing the resilience, intellect, and spiritual depth of these women who lived centuries ago and their continuing relevance today. It's truly inspiring. Hey, so, you know how we were talking about how history often leaves out whole groups of people? Well, that got me thinking about the Abbasid Golden Age. It's this amazing period in Islamic history, roughly from the 8th to the 13th centuries, a time of incredible intellectual and cultural flourishing. Baghdad was the place to be, think a melting pot of ideas and people from all over the known world, a true center of learning. And that's where this whole hidden histories thing really kicks in. See, when you read most history books about the Abbasid Caliphate, you get this picture of brilliant male scholars, philosophers, scientists, the usual suspects. But that's only half the story. Maybe even less. It completely ignores the huge contribution of women. That's what sparked my interest in exploring hidden histories. Female scholars and mystics of the Abbasid Golden Age. It's a project that started with a simple, nagging question. What about the women? Initially, it was just me, digging around, mostly in dusty old libraries and online archives. I stumbled across snippets, fragments of information, mentions of women in historical fleeting references in Poe. Maybe a line in a biography that hinted at a hidden life. It was frustrating at first, liking to assemble a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing. But the more I looked, the more I realized how much there was to find, even if it was scattered and obscured. Think about it. The Abbasid era saw the rise of Beit al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. This was essentially a massive research center and translation institute. Scholars from all over, Persians, Greeks, Indians, Syrians, came to Baghdad to work together, translating ancient into Arabic and sparking incredible intellectual debates. Now, we know many brilliant men were involved. But there were women there too. They weren't always formally acknowledged in the same way. But they were present, contributing, learning, teaching, sometimes secretly, sometimes openly. One of the most fascinating things I unearthed was the role of women in transmitting knowledge. Because of societal norms, many women couldn't openly attend public lectures or schools. But they were incredibly resourceful. They'd study in private with tutors, often within their own families. They'd participate in intellectual salons, private gatherings where they'd engage in philosophical and literary discussions. These gatherings weren't just about socializing, they were vital centers of learning and debate. Imagine a hidden network of knowledge, passed down through generations of women, often through oral traditions and family lineages. And then there's the mystical side of things. Sufism, a mystical branch of Islam, flourished during the Abbasid period. We often hear about the famous male Sufi masters. But women played a crucial role too, often as teachers and leaders within their communities. Many female Sufi poets wrote incredibly moving and powerful verses, expressing their spiritual journey through metaphors and symbolism, often hiding their identities due to cultural norms. Their poem wasn't just religious, it reflected their experiences as women in a patriarchal society. They explored themes of love, longing, devotion, and the search for the divine in ways that were both deeply personal and universal. Finding evidence of these women's lives wasn't just about tracking down names and dates, it was about piecing together a narrative, understanding the core of their lives. Think about the limitations imposed on women at the time: restricted access to education, social expectations around marriage and family, limited public roles. Yet, despite these constraints, countless women found ways to pursue knowledge, express their creativity, and make significant contributions to intellectual life. This project, Hidden Histories, became less about simply documenting their achievements, and more about exploring their resilience, their ingenuity, and the ways they navigated a world that wasn't always welcoming to them. It's about highlighting their struggles and their triumphs, and understanding how their stories can enrich our understanding of the Abbasid Golden Age and Islamic history in general. It's also about showing how easily female contributions can be overlooked, even in periods considered to be intellectual powerhouses. It's a cautionary tale, reminding us to actively seek out the hidden narratives, to challenge the established canon, and to appreciate the multifaceted nature of history. The journey of discovering these hidden histories has been an incredible one, a humbling experience. Really, it's a project that continues to grow and evolve. As I unearth more stories, more fragments of lives that were once relegated to the shadows. It's an ongoing conversation, a vibrant tapes woven from threads of resilience, brilliance, and unwavering devotion to knowledge, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. And a reminder that history is far more complex and fascinating than we often realize. And honestly, the more I uncover, the more I realize how much more there is still to be found. Okay, so we've talked about the amazing backdrop of the Abbasid Golden Age, this incredible flourishing of intellectual and cultural life in the Islamic world. Right? Think Baghdad, a city buzzing with activity, a melting pot of ideas from Persia, Greece, India, everywhere. And we touched on how, despite the patriarchal structures, women were definitely involved, but the stories are often hidden. That's where Hidden Histories really comes into its own. Now, we're getting into the heart of the book, the meaty middle chapters. This isn't just a list of names. It's about diving into their lives, their struggles, their triumphs. We're talking about women who defied expectations in a time when that was unbelievably difficult. Remember how we discussed the House of Wisdom in Baghdad? This amazing library and translation center? Well, Hidden Histories reveals that women were not only patrons of the House of Wisdom, but some were actually scholars there, involved in translating ancient Greek into Arabic, contributing to this massive intellectual project that shaped the world. Imagine the sheer dedication and brilliance required to not only master complex languages but to grapple with philosophical and scientific ideas that were groundbreaking even then. They weren't just copying, they were interpreting, analyzing, debating, all while facing enormous societal constraints. We meet women like Rabia al-Adawiyya, a Sufi mystic whose poems and sayings are still studied today. It's not just her profound spiritual insights that are striking, but the way she challenged the very structure of religious authority. In a society where men largely dominated religious discourse, Rabia's radical mysticism, her emphasis on a direct, personal relationship with God, bypassing established hierarchies, was absolutely revolutionary. She was a poet, a theologian, a spiritual leader, all rolled into one, completely unshackled by conventional religious interpretations. Her poems are incredibly beautiful and incredibly challenging. They're passionate, raw, and fiercely independent. Then there's the story of Amina al-Dahmani, a scholar of Hadith, the collected sayings and traditions of the Prophet Muhammad. Think of the immense pressure she must have felt as a woman navigating the male-dominated world of religious scholarship. To become a respected authority on Hadith, she had to be exceptionally knowledgeable and incredibly persistent, facing doubters and critics at every turn. Imagine the sheer volume of she had to memorize, analyze, and interpret to earn the respect she received. It wasn't just about intellect. It was about resilience, about overcoming prejudice, about proving herself time and again. And it's not just about scholars and mystics. Hidden Histories also reveals the contributions of female physicians, writers, and even poets who created beautiful and challenging verse. Think about the intricate networks of women supporting each other, sharing knowledge, and passing on traditions in private gatherings, often hidden from the prying eyes of a male-dominated society. These were not isolated figures. They were part of a complex and vibrant community, supporting and inspiring each other. The middle chapters also delve into the social and political con. The Abbasid Caliphate, though a time of great progress, was still a patriarchal society. Women's lives were shaped by religious laws, social customs, and family structures. But Hidden Histories brilliantly shows how women navigated these constraints, finding spaces and creating opportunities to pursue their intellectual and spiritual passions. It wasn't a utopian society, by any means. These women fought for their place, for their voices to be heard, for their knowledge to be valued. It's important to remember that the stories in Hidden Histories are not just about individual achievements. They are about the collective resilience of women in a challenging time. They are a testament to the enduring power of human spirit, the capacity to overcome obstacles, and the importance of preserving and celebrating diverse voices throughout history. Each woman's story in these middle chapters adds another layer of complexity to our understanding of the Abbasid Golden Age, revealing a richer and more nuanced picture than the traditional narratives allow. It's incredibly powerful stuff. We're not just reading about history. We're connecting with the lives of remarkable women who left their mark on the world, despite the odds stacked against them. It's a reminder that history is never a simple narrative, and that by uncovering the hidden histories, we gain a deeper and more complete understanding of the past, and, quite frankly, a better understanding of ourselves. Okay, so we've been diving into this amazing story of women in the Abbasid Golden Age. Right? We've talked about how revolutionary it was, this period. Roughly from the mid-8th to the mid-13th centuries, a time when Baghdad was the global center of learning, a melting pot of cultures and ideas, and frankly, a far cry from the image some people have of a rigidly patriarchal Islamic world. We've met some incredible women, haven't we? Think about the sheer audacity of it all. Here you have women, often from elite families, but also from more humble backgrounds, actively pursuing knowledge and scholarship in a world where that wasn't necessarily expected of them. They weren't just passively receiving an education. They were engaging with the most challenging intellectual currents of the time, medicine, philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, theology, you name it. We talked about the challenges, too. While the Abbasid Caliphate fostered a relatively open intellectual environment compared to many other places at the time, it wasn't a utopia. Societal expectations still played a role, and women faced restrictions, especially outside the scholarly circles of their homes or elite institutions. Many had to rely on informal networks, private lessons, and family support to access knowledge. The whole thing was so clandestine, so hidden, that's why the title is so appropriate. And the religious aspect is fascinating, right? We discussed the Sufis, these mystical Islamic thinkers and practitioners. Many female figures found a space within Sufism to express their spirituality and intellectual pursuits, often finding ways to reconcile their faith with their thirst for knowledge. It wasn't a simple path, though. Some Sufi orders were more welcoming to women than others. The tension between orthodox interpretations of Islam and the more mystical, sometimes more egalitarian, practices within Sufism created opportunities, but also risks, for these women. Think about Rabia al-Adawiyya, that incredibly influential Sufi mystic. Her poe, her devotion, her emphasis on love for God, that was revolutionary for its time. And it still resonates today. She wasn't just a passive follower. She was a prominent voice, shaping the very nature of Sufi thought. Then there were the female scholars who weren't necessarily Sufis, but who nevertheless made extraordinary contributions. Think about the women who excelled in medicine. They weren't just nurses or midwives. They were writing medical treatises, conducting research, treating patients, contributing to the medical knowledge that was being shared and debated across the empire and beyond. Imagine the obstacles they faced, the societal expectations they had to navigate. To achieve that level of expertise, their contributions are often overlooked, lost to history, buried under centuries of biased narratives. And as we near the end of our exploration of this incredible era, it's important to realize that Hidden Histories isn't just about uncovering these forgotten figures. It's about understanding the complexities of the past. It's about recognizing that the history we're usually told, the dominant narratives, often erase or marginalize the contributions of women and other groups. The story of the Abbasid women scholars and mystics isn't just a historical detail. It's a powerful reminder of the richness and diversity of human experience. It challenges simplistic narratives about gender roles and religious practices. It shows us that even in societies with clear hierarchies and limitations, individuals can find ways to challenge those limitations, to pursue their passions, and to leave their mark on the world. The conclusion of our journey isn't a neat, tied-up bow. There isn't one dramatic moment of revelation. Instead, the ending is about recognizing the ongoing nature of the work. The more we uncover, the more we realize how much more there is to discover. It's about understanding the lasting impact of these women's contributions on subsequent generations, their intellectual and spiritual legacies, even though often obscured, seeped into the fabric of later Islamic scholarship, philosophy, and mysticism. They laid the groundwork for future generations of women who continued to seek knowledge and express their faith in their own ways. Their stories inspire us, not just to admire their accomplishments but also to reflect on the ways in which we perpetuate the erasure of women's contributions in history and what we can do to change that. Ultimately, Hidden Histories, Female Scholars and Mystics of the Abbasid Golden Age, is a story about resilience, intellectual curiosity, and the enduring power of the human spirit. It's a story that encourages us to look beyond the dominant narratives, to seek out the hidden voices, and to appreciate the profound ways in which women have shaped the world, even when their contributions haven't always been acknowledged. It leaves you with a profound sense of awe, and perhaps a little bit of anger that these remarkable women and their contributions were so long ignored. But also hope, because the uncovering of their stories is a testament to the power of historical research and the ongoing struggle for a more inclusive and accurate representation of the past. Okay, so you want to know what hidden histories, female scholars and mystics of the Abbasid Golden Age, teaches Muslims today? It's a really fascinating topic, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. It's not just about history. It's about reclaiming a part of our heritage that's been, well, hidden. Imagine the Abbasid Caliphate, this incredible period in Islamic history, roughly from the 8th to the 13th centuries. We all know about the flourishing of science, art, and literature, right? Baghdad was this amazing center of learning, a place where scholars from all over the world came to study and exchange ideas. Think libraries overflowing with manuscripts, bustling marketplaces, incredible advancements in mathematics and medicine. You get the picture. It was a golden age, literally. But what we often overlook is the crucial role women played in this golden age. Hidden Histories shines a light on them. It's not about rewriting history, it's about completing the picture. It's about adding the vibrant colors and intricate details that have been missing for far too long. Think about it. We've heard stories about famous male scholars and thinkers of the time. But what about the women? The book, and all the amazing research behind it, reveals a whole world of female scholars, poets, mystics, and thinkers who made significant contributions. These weren't just women quietly supporting their husbands. They were leading figures in their own right, challenging conventions, and pushing the boundaries of knowledge. For example, take Rabia al-Adawiyya. She's considered one of the most important Sufi mystics, a pioneer of the mystical branch of Islam. Her poem is absolutely stunning, deeply emotional, profoundly spiritual, and totally revolutionary for its time. She challenged societal norms, lived a life of devotion and poverty, and her teachings are still relevant today. She wasn't just a religious figure. She was a social commentator, a philosopher, and a powerful voice for spiritual liberation. She reminds us that spiritual connection transcends gender roles. Then there are the female scholars. Many were incredibly knowledgeable in fields like medicine, mathematics, and astronomy. They were teachers, writers, and researchers, contributing significantly to the intellectual advancements of the time. Imagine the courage it took for women to pursue these fields, often facing social obstacles and cultural limitations. They had to be incredibly determined and resilient. Their stories inspire us to overcome our own obstacles and pursue our passions. Learning about these women challenges the often narrow narratives we've inherited about the role of women in Islam. It's a stark reminder that the Islamic tradition has always had a rich and diverse tapes of voices and perspectives, including those of women. These women were not passive recipients of religious knowledge. They actively participated in its creation, interpretation, and transmission. They were scholars, interpreters of the Quran, and teachers, often educating both men and women. Their stories aren't just about the past. They have profound implications for today. We live in a time when, unfortunately, many women still face significant challenges in pursuing education and leadership roles. The lives of these Abbasid women serve as a powerful reminder of the capabilities and contributions of women throughout history. They inspire us to fight for gender equality, to challenge limiting stereotypes, and to create a more just and equitable world. Furthermore, understanding this hidden history enriches our understanding of Islam itself. It shows us the diversity of thought and practice within the Islamic tradition, challenging simplistic and often inaccurate portrayals. It reveals the depth and complexity of Islamic intellectual history, highlighting the contribution of women to the development of Islamic thought and culture. Learning about these women also deepens our connection to our own heritage. It reconnects us to a rich and vibrant past, reminding us that our faith has always been characterized by intellectual curiosity, creativity, and the pursuit of knowledge. It allows us to reclaim a narrative that has been often suppressed or ignored, empowering us to re-evaluate our own understanding of Islamic history and our place within it. In short, Hidden Histories, Female Scholars and Mystics of the Abbasid Golden Age, teaches us to look beyond the dominant narratives and unearth the untold stories. It inspires us to challenge existing power structures, to celebrate the contributions of women, and to foster a more inclusive and equitable understanding of our religious heritage. It's a powerful reminder that history is not just a list of names and dates, but a tapes woven with the threads of countless individual lives, including those of inspiring women who shaped the world we live in today. It's about remembering, celebrating, and learning from those who came before us, and using their stories to inspire and shape a better future. Goodbye, may Allah bless us all. That's our discussion for today.